All right, imagine this. What if Raid Shadow Legends sponsored this video? You'd get to hear all about its awesome collection of over 700 unique champions, a super detailed and tactical RPG battle system, incredible graphics, and intense combination of PvE and PvP content. Well, lucky for you, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, so I'm going to tell you some more. Every great game has some serious challenges waiting near the end, something that you can really dig your teeth into if you want to master it. Well, in Raid Shadow Legends, that endgame is the Doom Tower, and it's a heck of a ride. To climb to the top, you're going to need an army of champions. Now, the regular Doom Tower floors tend to be a little easy to deal with if you have a strong team, but the bosses are pretty tough. And you need some serious specialists if you're going to beat them. You generally want to find ways to remove debuffs, and you'll also want pretty high resistance. Lots of Doom Tower bosses ignore block debuffs, and they can do really nasty stuff to your champions, like they can drain their turn meters or stripping their buffs. A couple of bosses need specific mechanics to beat them, like the Scarab King. He takes barely any damage unless you reduce his max HP. And if you attack him without a shield buff on, he will wreck your team really, really fast. I can go on for a while talking about this stuff, and I was surprised how I was able to actually do it. And trying to fight these bosses, it's really, really fun. It's trying things out and it's experimenting for yourself. The first episode of Raid, Call of the Arbiter, it's out now. To celebrate this awesome new limited series, Raid's going to be adding some of the new characters that you see in the series as champions in the game. That's pretty cool. One of them, the fearsome Orc Warlord Artak, will be available to everyone just by logging into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. If you have seen episode 1, you know exactly who Artak is, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. So trust me, just go watch episode 1. All will be revealed with all this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid. If you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses. We're talking an epic champion knight errant. So just go and find your clan. Do something. Maybe, I don't know, fast enough you can join my clan. But hit that link in my description and I'll see you on the battlefield. Let's talk about something that broke my heart.
What?
The mixed reviews for Indiana Jones.
Are you seeing mixed? Because I'm seeing bad.
Mixed is 50% for me, right? 50-50. So, but it's because it stands at like a 50%. But that's bad overall when you take in consideration James Mangold. That's the most shocking to me. The follow-up of another Indiana Jones movie with people not accepting it, or a lot of the you look at the craziness that happens within Lucasfilm. I think they're an absolute mess right now. Like they creatively don't know how to get things together. That doesn't surprise me. James Mangold doing a movie that is, they said that the humor is all over the place and it's kind of empty. You can call his movies a lot of things. Empty is not one of them. So were you excited about Indiana Jones at first? Does this take away from your? Were you not excited? What were your overall thoughts?
I'm still excited.
Same.
You know, here's the thing. I'm a James Bond fanatic. You know, I've been a James Bond fanatic my whole life. I'd say it's about 50-50 in terms of James Bond movies being good or bad. It's a rough franchise.
Yeah.
I can't even watch Diamonds Are Forever anymore. When I was a kid, I loved it. Nowadays, not so much.
Right.
But I still love the James Bond franchise. You know? Even it's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Right.
It's pizza. You know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch this movie. Look, I'm only really a fan. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a perfect movie.
Perfect
movie.
movie.
I think Temple of Doom's a pretty good follow-up. I'm not a big Last Crusade fan, and I certainly didn't love.
Raiders is my favorite out of the three.
Yeah. And look, I want this movie to be good. I think I don't trust anybody anymore when it comes to tentpole movies that are based on long-running IP franchises.
I agree.
I need to see it for myself because everyone said the same thing. Like the long extended opening back during World War II is great. Everyone said the same thing, that it's great. Well, is that enough for you? Because if I see a long 20-minute set piece with Indiana Jones, maybe that will carry me through the rest of the movie.
Right.
Maybe.
Well, Roxy, what do you think overall with because like here's an example of what Rob says. You know, when you look at a movie, I just saw Fast X yesterday because I missed it because I was at my brother's wedding, and so I wanted to see it, and it's got like a 53%. Now, I had fun with that movie. Now, very different movies.
Oh my God, totally
very different movies because I think that you judge that movie going in like, I just had a blast. I'm not looking for peak cinema. I'm looking for a bunch of goofy nonsense happening, and does it work better than the last? And I thought yes for Fast X. Indiana Jones, I really disliked the fourth one. Like I just think it just the essence of Indy is just not there. Every trailer I've seen, the essence has been there. But did you give it, because Rob and I obviously come from a different generation? Did you give a shit about Indiana Jones?
Yeah, oh my God, of course,
you do. Okay.
Not that only guys like Indiana Jones, but I have a big brother, so it was like a huge thing in my house. And I'm really excited for this still. Like you guys, I feel like we're 3 Indiana Jones apologists right now because we're like, maybe 20 minutes will make us love a whole movie.
And maybe, but maybe the audience also will love it though. Like, look at recently what's been happening is the critics have been really, I mean, this usually happens a lot, but the critics have been low on a movie and then the audience has gone bananas for it.
Right, but I do think that what's good about what's happening is that based on the trailers and based on the stuff we had seen, I actually thought this was going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, Rox, hedge your bets. Like, go in just thinking, maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. Maybe there'll be minutes that I like, maybe there'll be minutes that I don't. And that's a better way to go into a movie in general. Than the hype being so real. And I think maybe for the critics who saw it, who aren't loving it, maybe it's because they thought it was going to be the best indie of all time.
Right. And they debuted it at Cannes, which do you think in retrospect, even if it's a mixed movie and we wind up loving it, do you think that if they thought that this was going to be a mixed movie, it was a mistake to premiere this at Cannes?
Yes, but I think they thought it was a huge hit.
Me too.
Okay.
I think that's why they were hoping it would come out of Cannes and that it was
people will be raving about it.
It was going to stun everyone. And this is the thing: we live in a weird time. Like, let's say someone came to you and said, "You're a big director. Would you direct a Star Wars movie in this day and age?"
It depends on who I am. It depends on who I am.
You're you.
No. But I'm saying it depends on who I am in my career. Like, what kind of director am I? Am I a Nolan? Am I who am I? Like, what kind of stature am I? Matthew Vaughn?
Say you are Christopher Nolan. Say you are David
There are
Fincher.
different directors that have the backbone and have the tough skin to say, I don't care. Look, Tony Gilroy is an example. Tony Gilroy is an example of someone who showrun a Star Wars thing that wanted to do it because Tony Gilroy does not care what the fanboys say.
No.
So it depends on who I was taking
your
that meeting.
Personality.
Yeah, but it all matters because of what I've directed in the past.
Answer his question, Kristian.
I'm telling you that depends.
I'll answer your question. My answer is yes, I would do it, but I would do it knowing that it could stop my entire career.
Right. Here's the thing. Indiana Jones was introduced to the public.
Question answered.
I still answer the way that I did.
Over 40 years ago. You got the same character. We as people change. And the idea that an Indiana Jones movie is going to work as good as it worked the same way as it did in 81 in 2023 is, I think, absurd. The idea that we want these franchises to be what they've been for 40 years, as we grow old and change, we want our franchises to stay the same.
Well,
and how can that be?
But I think there's a mixture of both. I think you can have it both ways. I think that you can add things of today with things of yesterday and still make it work, because I think that's why people love those trailers so much, because it felt like the trailers felt like the old school.
We've seen it work. Top Gun Maverick worked.
That's right.
Rocky Balboa worked.
That's right.
You know, even
Creed. Even Creed's a mixture of both.
Creed works.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I read some criticisms of the film saying that Indiana Jones, he's tired, like the character.
Yeah.
He's tired and he's cranky and he's old. But he is old.
Right.
And I'm like, but that's the story. I like that.
Right.
I like seeing stories of our characters. Like, I love seeing characters come back. Color of Money. Paul Newman. It's a sequel to The Hustler.
Right.
You know, 25 years later, whatever. Fast Eddie Felson is not the character he was in the first movie. I like seeing what happens to people when they get older and they come back. I love the Western The Professionals, a bunch of old over-the-hill gunfighters or whatever coming back to pull off one last gig.
Yeah.
That's a great idea for a story. And to see what happened to Indiana Jones, and then he still figures out how to do it, how to get it done.
Right.
This grizzled old guy, it can't be bothered. But then he can be bothered, and it could be awesome.
What I hope they do, because I happen to really like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And
Fleabag was great.
Yeah, but Indy always has.
Did you watch it?
Fleabag? No.
Oh my God, that one's great too.
I know. I know.
And her original show, whatever it was.
I feel I should hang out with Roxy and just watch TV.
Oh my God, Fleabag was so good.
But the thing is, what people like, Allison Duty from the third one.
Yeah.
From the third one. You had Kate Capshaw from the second one. You had, obviously the great Karen Allen in both 1 and 4. Indy's always had a strong female character with him.
Yeah.
So my concern is also because sometimes they overshadow and you look at, it doesn't matter if it's man, woman, if the main character is overshadowed, I could see people having a problem with that. I haven't seen that criticism yet, but I want to see her have a prominent role, but I want to see it still be Indy's movie. That's one of the concerns I think some people have had, but I didn't see that criticism at all, Rox. Did you?
No, I didn't see that. I also want us to keep in mind that even though it is a dream of mine to go there, Cannes is super pretentious. With a lot of really pretentious people.
Right.
And Indiana Jones is not pretentious. It is like rough and tumble. Yeah. I do think, though, talking about how franchises can kind of evolve, and I know you talked about it a little bit, Top Gun Maverick, and different things do stay the same. There's a lot of Indiana Jones that still stays the same in terms of like nowadays, fighting Nazis is effing relevant. You know, like villains are relevant, heroes are relevant. There's a lot of stuff that still works today. I don't think that the franchise is as dated as some of our other franchises where it's like, how could they possibly make this work in 2023? I think that they actually, and the story that you just talked about, that's a story I'm interested in too. How does it happen where he is tired and he's older, but for some reason he's got to do it again? I think all of that works.
I meant more that the fact that people want this within the franchise, they want those stories to feel and be the same,
right? As
opposed to allowing characters to get older. Like, when they made Never Say Never Again, the Bond film in '83, where they also swapped out Felix Leiter for Bernie Casey, black Felix Leiter. Nobody cared then. So Bond was older. He was getting older, and they kept making fun of him for getting older. He had to go to literally a health farm to kind of dry out.
Yeah,
and I like that. I thought that was really interesting.
It gives more depth and shows more life and more real.
My favorite thing, Star Trek. Star Trek characters. Wrath of Khan was about middle age.
But let me ask you: is this? And I'm going to ask it in the least rude way possible, but maybe it comes off.
Be as rude as you want.
Okay. Do you guys like that because it's where you're at in life? Like, would you like that if you were 20 years old and you were going to see an indie movie?
If I'm 20 years old, and if I've seen the movies back to back to back, and I'm like looking for another Indiana Jones movie of the same, I can see where you'd be maybe disappointed for it too. But no, I don't think it's that particular. I think in general, I like to see the progression of the characters. Even when we saw Logan, the reason why Logan works so much of where he was in his life at that point. And I don't think you need to be older in life to enjoy that movie. People saw the progression of that character.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just asking.
You're just asking the question.
No, but I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think for me, going back to Star Trek, as a little kid, I started watching Star Trek when I was like 5 years old. When the movies came out, the character of Kirk was older, and I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was interesting watching them getting older and having them being older, incorporating the story. Like in Wrath of Khan, Kirk's like, this is some dude from 15 years ago. He's pissed at me.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it taught me a life lesson. Things have consequences.
That's right.
If you piss somebody off, deal with your shit.
Look at Jason Momoa in Fast X.
Right. They're going to come back to you. And I liked characters. I like seeing characters get older, even when I was a kid, I liked when there was a mentor student, like in Highlander.
Right.
Having
well, you also
Sean
feel
Connery
like
mentor.
Yeah, but you also feel like you've seen so much of their life and their journey. You feel like you've known them for so long that you get to see like this progression of where they go. So I like this, where they're going to go with and how they're going to continue it. I'm just curious how it's going to go for the reception. What I will ask is this, kind of going more into the business side of things now, where we've been pretty vocal on, this is something people wanted to talk to you about, because I want to tell you my stance on Kathleen Kennedy right now.
Okay.
So I think Kathleen Kennedy is absolutely, from everything she's accomplished in her career, Hall of Fame producer. There's no argument about it. And even for people in this, I'm going to go the business side of it, and I'm going to talk the creative side of it. Mm-hmm. The business side of it is if you're a Disney person, you hire, and Kathleen Kennedy is placed as the head of Lucasfilm, your job as the executive in Disney is to say, how are you going to put money in our account? How are you going to put money? Are those movies going to make money? Every movie except Solo, which is not her fault, because it's Iger who wanted that movie out earlier, Now, you can argue that a lot of this stuff with the production cost them more money, so maybe there's a little bit more of her to blame on that side of it, but had it come out in December, would have made a lot more money. She makes these movies. I'm not talking about the reception, because I don't really like the new trilogy at all anymore. Even Force Awakens, which I like, is ruined by the things that follow. They all made $1 billion. And so you can say, well,
so did Rogue One.
Right. And you can also say, well, each one made less than the last. It still made $1 billion. It still put it in their account. And especially when they're making movies like Strange World and Toys and Lightyear, which is losing $200 million, they need money that's going to go in the account, right? So Kathleen Kennedy, to me, has and now done the job when it was supposed to in a lot of her things. Now she's made a lot of mistakes production-wise, and she's made a lot of mistakes creatively, in my opinion. She's not. Are you looking up? Oh no, you're not looking up anything. What are you doing?
Just playing with a string.
Perfect. Thanks for paying attention.
I am paying attention. That's what every time people are like, "Are you texting?" I'm like, "I'm playing with my pants. I'm listening.
Better. I'm glad my point is so riveting that you wanted to play with your bag.
I have heard your Kathleen Kennedy point. You started this conversation with, "I want to talk to you about something." I was out of the conversation before it started.
Well, the reason
I'm a cat playing with a string.
When it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, what I was going to say is this: I think that she just made. You can't, but you also, you can't deny with all the problems with the directors and certain things. That I think Roxy made a fantastic point a couple of weeks ago. She needs a PR person. She needs someone because she had this.
Or a better PR person.
Yeah, someone who's going to tell her. Someone who's going to tell her, look, there's certain things that you should maybe present, and there's like certain points that she made on that IGN interview after Celebration, where it was unbelievable. Some of the stuff that she was. The way that she would say it, the Kevin Feige movie, we're like, oh, it wasn't real. And then the Russo say, it was pretty real. We were going to direct it. And like, it's things like, just say, there are some, if she's honest more so and say, if there is, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. We hoped that it would, but it didn't. People go, oh, okay. This movie is the one, though, the Indiana Jones. This is the movie, though, that people are going to go, well, look, it's Kathleen Kennedy. She produced another Indiana Jones movie.
And her husband, Frank Marshall, goes all the way back to Raiders.
If this movie doesn't work out,
do you mean financially?
Yeah. Is this the beginning of the end for Kathleen Kennedy, or is she going to be there for a bit?
Look, I'm like you. I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. I think that
I'm not going to say that I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. I'm going to say that I appreciate. I'm going to say that I appreciate what she's done in her career. I just don't. She is not the right person for the job anymore, in my opinion.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. She was president of Lucasfilm before it was acquired by Disney. Was she? Yeah, Lucas.
I thought she appointed her right as it happened.
Well, maybe around the same time, but it was still a Lucas appointee.
That's right. That's right.
The problem with Star Wars and the problem with Lucasfilm is Disney. It's not Kathleen Kennedy.
Not creatively, it's not.
Well, but here's the thing. Kathleen Kennedy she's a producer that is used to working with visionary directors.
Right.
And she facilitates. A great producer takes what a director wants and makes it happen for them. I'm going to get you all the things you need to produce the film. Kathleen Kennedy is very, very good at that.
Right.
Her first producing credit was E.T. Spielberg himself said she's the best producer I ever worked with because she knows what everybody needs to make their movie.
Right.
I don't think being put in a position of being the president of a company was one of her strong suits.
That's right.
And here's the thing. She's not creative. She's not somebody who's weighing in.
She can get the production duties done.
Yeah, she gets the production. And so what's happened is she's used to hiring people. If you look at the people, she's worked with Scorsese. She's worked with the best of the business. She's produced movies for everybody. She's used to the people that she's working with being geniuses. That's what she's used to working with. She hasn't been working with geniuses. I think J.J. Abrams is not a genius if you look at his science fiction films.
What?
I wouldn't say he's genius, but he's very creative.
He's very creative, but he's made 5 science fiction films, all of which are not good.
I wouldn't go that. I like you and I are very different pages with the Star Trek.
No, I understand, but also look at a Star Wars movie.
But
it was a repeat.
What is your thoughts on what Kristian asked about if this movie financially does not perform? Do you think that this is the beginning of the end for her?
I think she wants out anyway.
Do you?
So you think it's unrelated to this movie completely?
Before the Rey movie? Because I think because if I'm her, I would say, and you've been in these positions before, wouldn't you want to say, all right, well, I set up this new movie in 2025. That's the one that we know is going to happen. Who knows if the Mangold one or the Filoni one?
Well, I think here's what will happen. What happens to all these people? She'll leave her position and get a producing deal.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that she has that credit But wouldn't she want to stick around to put another $1 billion in the bank if she's going to do it and then leave? But
So aren't you answering your own question in terms of even if this doesn't perform?
I don't necessarily know. I'm telling you, I think that's what she'd want to do. My question is, does Iger, because now there's more and more people, because what I've seen is that when it first started out with Kathleen Kennedy, you could point the finger and go, but there's just people yelling and screaming about her because she's a woman in a position of power and they don't want her in there. And I'm not going to say that wasn't untrue for a lot of people. But then as it got, the more decisions that came out and the directors that kept leaving projects and the things that were announced a bit, there were more people. Like you look at, I remember having a conversation with Steph Sabra. Like at one point she said, no, I think she's still, and now Steph's on the, I think it's time to go. Like if you're a sports fan, I've made this analogy. There are times when a certain manager works for a certain franchise and then they come in to bring their instruction to another one and it does not work. I just think she'll be, like you said, another production deal that she gets somewhere else. Probably will wind up doing a bunch of successful movies.
But I think that here's the thing. With Indiana Jones, getting James Mangold to direct was a great thing.
Oh, yes, it was.
He's an incredible director.
So you would call him genius?
I would call him, yes, because if you look at, he works in many different genres, whether it's 3:10 to Yuma, whether it's Logan, whether it's Copland,
right,
whether it's Identity. He's worked in all these different kinds of genres of film. He's a very versatile storyteller. He's a writer-director. He is definitely, I would say, he's visionary. He's a great hire. You know, he's somebody perfect to pick up the mantle of Spielberg. That and aside from COVID, I know they had a lot of production problems and Harrison Ford getting hurt and all that.
Right.
That was a tough one. I don't think that was either Mangold's or Kathleen Kennedy's fault, making a movie during a pandemic. So, look, I think this movie's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, me too.
I think that, remember, we who talk about this stuff all the time, we live in a bubble.
You're right.
The rest of the world does not care.
No.
They're going to go see an Indiana Jones movie. They're going to have a great time.
They don't even know it's screened at Cannes.
They have no idea.
Right.
And not only that, remember, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull still made, what, $750 million? Yeah. I think they're expecting this movie. It was very expensive. This movie was very expensive.
$200 million. Yeah.
So if this makes anywhere from, I don't know, $700 to $1 billion.
Do you think it'll get that? You think it'll do that well?
Yeah, because the world wants to be entertained.
I'm curious because, Roxy, at that time, The Flash will have been in its second or third week. And then Mission Impossible is probably 2 weeks after it. I think it makes half a bill. I think it makes 500, and which will be okay for them. You don't think it'll make more than that? Okay.
Yeah, I do think so because it's an Indiana Jones movie, and I do think based on what we've seen, even though people at CAM weren't feeling enthusiastic about it, I do think that it's going to make more than that. People have been waiting so long for this.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing my friends from home even know is coming out this summer.
It's my number one. And I'll tell you the reason why, another reason I think that it has an opportunity to exactly, I'm not saying there's no way you guys are right. You very well could be and close to $1 billion because
I don't know about $1 billion, but I would say 750.
But you look at Top Gun Maverick. Who thought Top Gun Maverick was going to make $1.2 billion? There's not a lot of people that did.
It was the best movie ever.
It was. I'm telling you, you might have, but not a lot of people.
I did say that on John's show.
No.
Then
I pull it up. I want receipts.
I believe you. I believe you, but you're in the minority. I'm telling you, in the
you
minority.
said it's going to make over $1 billion.
I said it was going to make $1 billion.
I believe you.
You said before Top Gun, before reviews came out, before people anything, when they announced Top Gun Maverick, you said it's going to make over $1 billion.
Someone's going to pull this clip.
Yeah, pull it. Because then I'll believe it. I believe it when I see it.
And I'll tell you why. I said that because John had seen 18 minutes at CinemaCon that I didn't go to.
Okay.
So a year in advance. Right. And then the first trailer that came out like a year in advance, I'm like, and here's the thing. I was saying that I think people underestimate how beloved Top Gun actually is.
Right.
And it's something many generations.
It was a great movie. It was
it was in the 80s. It was groundbreaking. Yeah. You know, everyone. It was what I'd call an MTV movie.
Yeah.
Tony Scott. Made,
he
made The Hunger. He made Top Gun. He made Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah.
Those were great MTV movies.
Well, but with Indiana Jones, though, I think that another reason it could do very well is because of the, like I said, The Flash. You got Guardians. You have the big movies, the comic book movies. The reason something like Avatar does so well, the reason why Top Gun does so well, it's an alternative to just going to see the big budget movies, but it's not in the comic book genre. So you get a chance to see Indiana Jones, big adventure, and brings in an older audience, also that maybe are just used to streaming stuff now and don't go to the theater as much now. But you know what? My dad wants to see it in the theater because he took me to see Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was like 5 years old or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. The reviews that I've read, like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had active stupidity.
Yes.
Really stupid stuff. I haven't seen anyone say that about this movie. They might not have liked something or it didn't deliver, but everything that I've read about what happens in this movie, I'm like, that's intriguing.
Yeah, they said it was kind of repeating some of the same
people
beats.
saying?
From what I saw, it was like repeating a lot of the same beats. Empty is what they're called. Instead, it's just not doing anything new. I think I'd rather see not anything new than monkey swinging in the trees with Shia LaBeouf.
Yes,
Yeah.
and somebody doing a Tarzan scream or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
And here's what I find really interesting: the idea, just the milieu that it takes place in. The fact that it's in 1969, it's the landing on the moon, and where Indiana Jones is in his life. And everything about it, all the different plot elements are interesting to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it where I go, well, that's stupid.
Right.
It's still got a 5-minute standing ovation. But,
5 minute, though.
But that 5 minute
Harrison
is
Ford.
described as more muted and a formality.
Yeah, and I think they
How
were
could
doing.
you tell?
I think they were doing it because it's Indiana Jones' last hurrah, and they're giving Harrison Ford his due.
Plus, it's a big Hollywood tentpole, whereas
Right.
Cannes is very like
That's
you
what
said,
Roxy said,
it's
yeah.
very pretentious. I mean, they don't. It's about cinema, not
Right.
the
Why is
movie.
Indiana Jones here unless it's like the next this better be Top Gun Maverick. It better get close to being nominated for an Oscar.
They want Phantom Thread.
right.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it's curious.
Yes.
I mean, the only reason why I push back on even myself defending that at one point is that there were some critics that I looked at that I actually lined up on a lot of their other tastes with. So that made me, just looked at. I went through a few of them and I said, okay, well, what did they think about this movie? And on the same page with me. What about this?
Yeah.
Same page. And I went, not that is, 100%, but it's something that could.
What you're trying to say is it wasn't Bibiani's take that.
It was not
convinced you.
Bibiani's thing. No. And nothing against
with so much
Bibiani.
love.
Bibiani. What I say about Bibiani is I think he's such a great critic. I just never am on the same page with that guy ever.
Yeah.
But I think also I want to like this movie,
Right.
and I think it's like the cave in Empire Strikes Back. What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Are there movies you don't want to like?
There are movies that I am predisposed to not liking for whatever
When you
reason.
see a trailer or something, you just I don't know. I don't like this movie.
yeah, and
What's
I
an
try and not be
example?
that way. Well, example like a J.J. Abrams science fiction movie.
Gotcha.
I'll go in there and I'll be like, I'm not. I want it. Look, I think I want to like every movie. I really do. But there are some filmmakers that I'm not big fans of.
Right.
Like, I want Indiana Jones to be good. I want Kathleen Kennedy to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I want James Mangold to succeed. I want Harrison Ford to go out on a high note. I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge because I like Fleabag.
Yeah.
It's a great show, and you should watch it.
I'll watch this eventually.
But it's I just want it to be good.